All rise, please. City of Gladewater City Council record session agenda, May the 18th, 2017, 6 p.m. I'd like to call on Chris to do the prayer and Sonny to do the pledge.
Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we give you so much thanks for all your glory and for the opportunity to be here tonight. We thank you for loving us. Lord, I just pray that you will give this council the wisdom they need to do what's best for the city of Gladewater. I want to also thank the citizens for being here and pray that you would just watch over them and that we can do what is best for them. Lord, I'd like to thank the first responders that are in this room tonight who go out and put their lives on the line every day to protect this community. Father, finally, I just want to once again thank you for loving us, for giving us, and I pray all this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is presentation to outgoing council member Chris Bland. All right, Chris, come on around and you want to get a picture? You want to get there? You want to wherever you want to. How about this? Chris, thanks for everything you've done. Appreciate you. We're going to miss you. This is what we'd like to give to you. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay. We don't want you to forget it.
Well, there was that.
Appreciate it.
And the boxes. All right. Thanks. Congratulations. The next item is oath of officers for newly elected council members Nick Balfour, Elijah Anderson, Dennis Robinson, and J.D. Shield. Okay,
Okay, I would like to call all four of you up front, please. Okay, for the first time in Gladewater's history, we've been able to cancel the election. So all of you are considered duly elected as unopposed candidates, but you still have to take the oath of office. So I will ask you, Nick Foster, to please raise your right hand. I, Nick Foster, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member, Place 4, the City of Gladewater, Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of this state. So help me God.
I do.
Congratulations. Here's your certificate. Mr. Sonny Anderson, please raise your right hand. I, Elijah Sonny Anderson, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council, Place 5, the City of Gladewater, Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
I do.
Congratulations. All right, next, Dennis. Raise your right hand, please. I, Dennis Robertson, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Place 6 of City of Bladewater, Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
I do.
And last but not least, John J.D. Schiff. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member Place 7, the City of Bladewater, Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you.
Put your cell phone number in there, Nick. Because you'll be getting all of our calls. Next item on the agenda is consideration of appointment of Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we elect J.D. Schiff for that, for Mayor Pro Tem for this year.
Second.
Second round. Okay. Any discussion on this? Thank you, JD, for willing to take it. All in favor with JD? JD doesn't vote.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you willing to do it again. Okay. You know, if I'm not able to perform, you have to perform, you know.
Right. Yes, sir.
You've seen it before. That's an old hospital joke. JD said, keep him going no matter what. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Do you have anybody?
Yes, we do, Mayor. The first one is Scott Owens.
Okay, Scott?
This guy's a former council member, I don't know whether to trust him or not.
Mayor and council people, this is, I think, we've made a lot of progress the last year or so on getting some things done around here. And, I'm proud of y'all for doing that, and proud of Theo for the hard work he's done and with the staff here. So there's a couple items here that I want to address the council on, and they're not necessarily easy for me to do it. And if you feel that I'm calling anybody out on this, that's not really the intention. I'm just trying to point out a couple of things here that I think might keep the city council out of some problems. The first one will be item 8 on your agenda, the appointment of GwCtyCnclMay board member. My understanding is that Ms. Newman resigned her post and presented it last night to GwCtyCnclMay board, and that it was accepted on there, and that she is no longer on the GwCtyCnclMay board, and that is now up to the city council to replace her. And I understand that we have an item on the agenda and a spot to be filled there. The problem there is twofold, I believe. One is, if this was done last night and it's turned in, how can we have an item on the agenda for that when we haven't went through the 72-hour process? Also, a couple of years ago, we adopted rules here encouraging citizens to serve on the various boards, because we just had the same people time after time doing it, and we were forming cliques on different boards and not necessarily getting people in with new ideas to do that. And we, at that time, came on and decided that we would be advertising at least once in the newspaper, and I believe it was twice. I may be mistaken on that. as these would be coming up normally in the fall for replacement, so that we could get people interested in getting their qualifications, presenting those to the board as well as to the council for consideration. And if this was done last night and it was open, I don't know how anybody would be notified to be able to put their interest out. In fact, myself, a month ago, had a conversation with the city secretary expressing my interest that I thought there was a vacancy at that time on the board and that I might want to resign my position on the planning and zoning and put my name in the hat, if so selected, to serve on that particular economic development board. So I believe you're going to need to bypass that item because you're in violation of the agenda law, in my opinion, there, because how could it be put on the agenda if it wasn't open till last night and a 72-hour window to post the agenda hadn't passed? Also, I want to commend our newspaper on the second item here on the article that he put forth this last week on some, I think, underlying tensions with the council. And my deepest desire is that we don't gain the reputation here that we've got a council that is hard to work with, that a city manager can't come in and work out and work with the people and get some things done.
Yeah.
And with the things that have been going on with me, I believe we've had a council person that has gone around violating the Open Meeting Act and talked with everybody about this item and these things that were brought forth in this article. That in itself is a violation of the law and can get us into trouble. That would be cause for removal of that council person, or in the least, a reprimand by the council of that council person. If that type of situation continues, we're going to find us in legal problems here violating the Open Meeting Act. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Next.
Next is Suzanne Bardwell.
Okay, Suzanne.
I'm coming forward to thank y'all and thank some people who've been working to get some real important things accomplished that we're very, very grateful for. As Friends of the Library, Secretary for Friends of the Library, I'm representing that group to thank Judy Hagel in particular and Theo for getting the Tucker grant for $18,300 for digitization efforts. This is a grant that has been a long time coming, and I'm real excited about this because this will help preserve our history in Blackwater. And then the other thing that I wanted to express appreciation for was support for the beautification projects by the city council, by the city employees, and by the community, and all the people that have stepped forward to help with that. And I especially want to give gratitude to Al Harrison for all the extra things that he has done to help with the beautification process, and Theo as well. Also with the ball field, we've been trying to come up with some things for beautification to help out there. Although we don't have money to help out, we have resources to help out. And we've gotten the urban forester from Gregg County to come over and look at the ball field and to give it, and he's creating plans now that hopefully we'll be able to work from, and hopefully we'll be able to find some grants to help with that as well. But there are a lot of people working a lot of the time on a lot of things that are kind of beneath the surface that other people don't see. And it's a really, really neat thing to see all these people involved. And I just want to express public gratitude for all that effort.
Thank you, Suzanne. No, please.
Okay, Mayor, we have Marion Cundy.
Okay, Marion.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marion Cundy. I have some very roughly written notes, and new contacts. So if y'all will bear with me. One of our city manager, Theo Melançon's first actions on taking the position was to move forward on a city ordinance that I adamantly opposed. Yet I'm going to stand here and give him my support because his performance as city manager is the best thing to happen to Gladewater in many years. The current dissension between some members of the council and the city manager is the result of the city manager doing an excellent job. To fire him, run him off, or let him go for any reason would be a huge mistake. He has tackled the many, some gargantuan tasks he's been assigned that the city council either wanted to wash their hands of or had been kicking down the road. He's developed a budget that will accomplish these things, but there is little left over for unnecessary projects. Perhaps this is part of the source of the dissension. I personally am grateful for the independent press in our city, the Gladewater Mirror, and I'm particularly grateful for this week's front page article on the current issue. To summarize, Theo is being criticized for ensuring that the basic responsibilities of this council are accomplished, which he has done with an eye to the future benefit of the city. He's being criticized for forward thinking and for saving the city money. I'm all for checks and balances, but I don't think you will hear a complaint from the residents off George Ritchie Road who have been complaining about water quality for decades and now have a new water line thanks to Theo. I don't think you will hear complaints from parents whose children ride across culverts that are now safe. I don't think you will hear complaints from public works staff that the lift station that was on its last leg is now functional thanks to time-sensitive decisions by Theo. I don't think the citizens of Gladewater will complain that sewage was not dumped in the lake by this faulty lift station or allowed to flow down the lake via a stream. Both did not happen thanks to action taken by Theo. To those council members who currently have a problem with the city manager's performance, I would remind you of the scripture that, paraphrased, advises removing the 2x4 from your own eye before criticizing the splinter in another man's eye. To the remaining council members, city staff, and the general public, I ask that you support Theo and do what you can to quiet this storm so that further forward progress can continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Ann, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann. Good. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'd like to do these one by one. On A, what's the pleasure of council on minutes April the 20th, 2017? What's the pleasure of that item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes from April the 20th, 2017.
Second. Any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. Next item is blanket permit for Juneteenth parade, June the 17th, 2017. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the blanket permit for Juneteenth parade on June the 17th, 2017.
Second. Okay. Any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. The next item is blanket permit for music event to be held in the alley between Antiques 2 and Healy's Tattoo Shop on June the 9th, 2017. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the blanket permit for music event to be held in the alley between Antiques 2 and Hilly's Tattoo Shop on June 9th, 2017.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Senator. Any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Next item is city manager report on administrative and capital projects. Okay, Theo.
What I'd like to do is, before we begin the slideshow, I'd like to actually allow an opportunity for our police and fire to come up and introduce some of our newest members on both of these forces. I'll start off with Chief Vine, since he's got the shorter list. You care to come forward?
Mayor, council, thank you for letting us stand before you tonight. We have a PD officer who was not able to make it tonight. He actually lives in Nacogdoches, so I told him he didn't have to drive all the way We do have a new officer. And he's actually a detective. He comes via way 10 years experience, Longview, Upshur County. Spent the last 4 to 5 years with the DEA task force. So his name is James Gillen. I've actually known him since he was about 9 years old. But tried to hire him when I was in Mount Pleasant. Fortunate enough, we did have an opening here. We were able to hire him here to join Gladwater. Very happy that he's here. So I wanted to introduce him tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Kirkwood, if you come up and introduce the new fireman and maybe a glass of water while you're at it.
Keep my voice dry now.
Yes, sir.
Mayor and council, thank you for I'd like to introduce, we have 4 of them here tonight. One of our part-timers weren't able to make it, but James Parkinson, he's fairly new to the fire service. Caleb Daniels, Alexandria McDonald, and Damien Miller. All of them are fairly new to the fire service, but we welcome them aboard our departments.
Thank you, Chief Kirkwood. One of the things, so I just wanted to give everyone a quick update, rundown of some things, and also to kind of see where things are leading up to for as we're gearing up for budget season. One of the things that we're kind of doing in this budget season is moving into trying to use a modified zero-based budget approach, or ZBB for short. And what that kind of means is that we're kind of really taking my newest department heads and making them go into the line items, item by item, breaking down a lot of things. And I think that's actually helped out some of our new department heads and having to figure out, and in that justification process, understanding what are their regular expenditures in their department. So, and as part of this modified zero base, what you're trying to do is you're trying to discern what are budget necessities to versus what are programmatic add-ons that we've accumulated over the years. Also, along the way, we're compiling a full list for our comprehensive capital improvement plan, our equipment and building maintenance needs, and we're trying to put all those things together as we speak, as we're coming into budget season, which we'll be discussing budget workshop later on in this meeting. Some of the administrative updates, we have officially received the $5,000 grant for the old Fork building. The city has been awarded the Tucker grant that was talked about earlier. I think that this is very important because we have such a treasure trove of old information sitting on microfiche that if a historian or just a record keeper wants to get access to them, they can view them in our microfiche machine, but they can't print it off. And so with it being digitized, it will really allow us to really use that data in a better way. We're still waiting on the scoring results for our CDBG grant, which deals with water line replacement in the North Weldon area, and we'll discuss that a little bit in a second. The George Ritchie project is substantially complete at this point. We've put in a little bit of erosion control in around one of the intersections because of how steep the grade is. But other than that, we're pretty much done with that. That added a very big boon to that northeast side of town, so we're not having to flush the lines that dead end at Warren City. It also, while we were there, we found a 2-inch line that was not on any maps. We were on the ground, and the decision was made to go ahead and kill the old 2-inch line, tie in the 5 homes into this line, giving them good water pressure and better water quality, because the old 2-inch line was breaking constantly and had really deteriorated pretty badly. So we went ahead and finished that off. We still came in. We had budgeted $80,000 for this project when way back whenever this was brought up. We were able to not only accommodate these 5 homes with better water quality, but did the project at about $15,000 under budget. So work on our water plant SCADA system is about to begin. We were at a use it or lose it situation, the USDA RUS grant. We still had about $150,000 of grant funding sitting. if we didn't use it, the federal government was going to take it back. And so we put together it's not a full rehab of the water plant SCADA system because that's a lot more expensive than $150,000. But we were able to get a lot of the major components into this project, and they're going to begin that project should be substantially complete by mid-August and should be fully completed by mid-September. One of the things that I'd like to commend, since we have firemen here, is that we're rehabbing fire hydrants around town. So if you're seeing them painted, what they're doing is they're testing them for flow. Those color schemes on the caps do correlate to a flow. And so that when they see these caps, they'll know automatically at the hydrant that it flows at least a certain amount of water per minute. So we're also I'm working with the National League of Cities, because one of the issues we run into is that, yes, we do have old main lines in town, but we also have a lot of older homes in town that have the old yard lines. And so there's only one company that the National League of Cities endorses for yard line insurance. And so I'm trying to talk with them to figure out what services they provide, and if that's something that would be beneficial to the city of Gladewater. There's a few cities here in East Texas that have joined in and allowed this insurance company to provide yard line service insurance. And so it'll be something that we'll bring up at a later date once I have a little bit more information on it. But it seems to be something that other cities have been very pleased with so far. Also working with Warren City right now on a partial reimbursement for the George Ritchie Loop project. Not sure what the final number would be on that. I know early on they were looking at a number in that $8,000 to $10,000 range, but I believe that Mayor Ricky Wallace will be taking it to their council to reimburse us $20,000 on that project. So, moving on into capital improvement planning. Last meeting, council approved the $5.5 million loan, and the short recap of that is that we're rehabbing the sewer plant, replacing a major sewer line between Highway 80 and Gay Avenue. That's basically the main feed line through that north, central, and west side of town. Gay Avenue water tank rehab, the rehabilitation of the lift station electrical and SCADA system along the lake, a rehabilitation of the water intake structure, which will directly impact our ability to handle water quality issues. We're also looking at doing a sewer line smoke test so we can see what's the condition of our major trunk lines in town. The replacement of a 10-inch water line that feeds the west side of town, upgrading it to a 12-inch and getting rid of the AC pipe there and putting in longer-term PVC pipe, and adding safety features to our water treatment plant. In our next set of capital projects, we need to start putting together once we have an opportunity to go for another grant or loan, our goal should be to already have these projects in place. Now, we're probably looking at from 3 to 5 years from now having that project set up. In approximately 5 years, we're going to have $200,000 of debt service that comes off the books in the enterprise fund. And so one of the things that we could do with that money is since we do have a lot of work still left to do, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I'm assuming that interest rates will be at least 1% higher than what they are now. 3 to 5 years from now, could be more. But at 3% interest over 20 years, we could do $3 million worth of projects, and that would be a wash basically with what we're paying in debt service today. Also along the way is that some of these items may be actually be able to have a cooperative partnership with GwCty to fund laying a lot of the lines in town because of the commercial aspects. And so that'll be something that we'll be working hand in hand with GwCty on in the years to come. A lot of what we're looking at are going to have the sewer line smoke testing and hydraulic analyses that have already been done, and if there's anything missing, doing more of those. And that's what's going to really drive these projects. But another thing is the data analytics that we're pulling from our own work orders. Where are the problems at? Where we keep going back over and over and over again. So projects that are already on our pretty much our CIP list are, we're looking at, how could we incorporate having on-site generators for lift stations? Because when a lift station goes out, there's an opportunity, especially at the lake, for overflow of sewage to go into compromising areas, creeks, and eventually into the lake. Also, looking at around 2019, looking at that once we're awarded the CDBG grant, and then full completion of that project would be somewhere in that 2019 fiscal year. That would be approximately 5,900 linear feet of water lines being replaced in that North Weldon area. Again, we're waiting on the scoring part. If we don't get it, we push this back a year because we'll have to have reapplied again. Looking at what's already on our list in the 2020 range, we're looking at water treatment plant operational upgrades, dealing with a lot of the accessibility, where our lab is located, upgrading lab. We're looking at upgrading chlorination pumps. We're also looking at a major sewer line being replaced that goes between South Rodeo and then connects up to the South Loop through the basically the forest, if you will. And it's a major line that could cause problems if we allow it to go too far. We're also looking at the dam overflow assessment and repair. At this point, we'd also be looking at the Allison Avenue tank rehab with some water line looping south of the river, and that would be a pretty large project that could have better water quality, less times having to flush south of the river, opportunities to provide water services on this, and I'll show the map of that, of what we're kind of conceptually looking at. Would provide service to both sides of 271 and both sides of 135. So I would like to walk you through a few of these projects. One of the things I'd like to see, at least maybe not in this next budget cycle, but in the next one, for us to come up with the funding, whether we do it in-house or contract it out, is a very small project. It's not a huge one. In fact, this line is, if you see, there's that yellow line on the bottom right corner is Main Street. This is a project that we've been looking at for about 6 to 8 months. Our 6-inch line ends where that blue line begins. The big problem is that when you get to the other side of that blue line, if you get out there are houses out there, but there's no 6-inch line, no hydrants, no fire protection, nothing. And we've already had a fire out there with no fire protection there. So that's one of the things that I would like to have changed, not only for water quality purposes, but for us to get to those houses with hydrants, with decent flow. And so that's when we're looking at, that would be in that $50,000 to $75,000 range, depending on how we engineer it. We could probably shave off some of the linear feet of the line itself of the 6-inch and looping in a 2-inch for the houses themselves, but to get a hydrant closer. An in-house project that we're going to start working on, we're probably actually going to start test digging in this next budget cycle, but the real work that we're going to do in-house will be in the next year. What happened, North Lynn Street is one of the worst lines in this town for work orders, and we pulled those work orders months and months ago and just saw this a wide array of problems on the water line. So we started digging, and we actually found a 6-inch line sitting in North Lynn that was never tied into a single house as far as we know on North Lynn. It was laid decades ago. It's in good shape. It's a good 6-inch transmission line. But when we laid the line decades ago, no one tied them in. They just basically built a line, buried it, and left the old 2-inch line connected to the houses. So what we're going to do is we want to test dig through the next year, get a good game plan in place, and then start tying people in. Now, it is an older line, but we have no work order history on the 6-inch line. In fact, we didn't even know the 6-inch line was there until one day we were test digging and it was there. So the condition of the pipe is good. So what we want to do is start working our way and getting all these houses disconnected from the 2-inch, kill the 2-inch, and have them reconnected into the 6. And that's something that's well within our abilities because we do taps all the time. It's just going to be the logistics that we'll be working out over the next 12 months, because these are a lot of houses. At least 18 houses are connected to this 2-inch, and of course you don't want to have people without water for long periods of time. One of the candidates for a long-term or loan or grant opportunity is a major sewer transmission line kind of in the same area. And that's between Mary Street and Shell Camp, where the red line is going basically through a creek. When this sewer line is laid right in the middle of a creek, and it's at the bottom of the creek. And so if there's any problems with that sewer line, there's only one place for the sewer to go. And so that's one of the issues that we don't want to get into. And so I think this would be a great candidate for the next set of loans to come out. It'd be about $300,000 as of right now, at least is what we're estimating. One of the big things about this project is that this is another one based off of our work orders. We saw there was a problem here because we're constantly, and it actually runs not too far. I think this is this line and actually the line that runs around Everett Park are two lines that they're pacing each other on work orders. And so that may be another one we'll be adding to this. Another line based off of work orders that we've been pulling for a while now is on North Street, way out on North Street at 80, going up to Bernice. Very bad line, constant work orders. And I think this would be one we have not put a cost on this one yet, but it's one that because it's relatively smaller, we've been really costing out some of our bigger ones, but this will be one that we're going to try to get a cost to and put it in order and figure out a priority listing, at least a staff recommendation of a priority for that one. Another one would actually knock out several things at one time. This is definitely in a commercial area along 271, would open up opportunities. The light blue line running down 271 is a 6-inch line that we would expect we'd contract out, and it runs from Empire Street down to Riverside with Starnes right in the middle. Hopefully by the time we would actually have this loan, there would be an ability for us as a city of Gladewater in-house to be able to lay the 500 to 600 feet of line from the 6-inch to do the 2-inch lines that are on Riverside and Starnes. And if you see the loop is right there. So we're looking at upgrading a line that does feed south to the airport. So and it's about 3,200 linear feet on that. The cost is unknown because that's a relatively new one that we've added to the list that we need to get done. And like I said, this may have some commercial implications in the future.
Those lines are on either side of 271?
This line is actually on the west side, or kind of like, but it's on this side of the line where it would be, so it'd be about right. So it runs opposite side of the loop is where they run. I wanted to go back over our CDBG grant application that we put in for lines on the north end of Weldon, including Eleanor Street, Glade Street, Mill Street, Cooper Street, Johnson Street. It ends up being, I think we ended up with somewhere around a mile of water line that would be changed out from old rotting out 2-inch into 6-inch PVC, and an installation of at least 8, but possibly up to 10 fire hydrants there. So that's one that we're waiting for federal answers on for that one. As part of this same application, probably the line that has the most work orders per linear foot is Marshall Street. And so that's one of them that we would like to get redone as well. Once we would have this little segment of street done, not only would we have the street redone properly, the sewer line had been done in a previous project, so we'd have new street, new water line, new sewer line on that street, but the water line was left behind, and it was easily one of the worst ones. So this is one we're going to do in-house. This is a preventative. Storm drains we have 3 for sure, but we're highlighting more now. We have 3 storm drains that are going to be undermining the integrity of sidewalks, streets, and some of our lines in town if we don't address them. And those are at Dean and Glade, which we've already kind of begun some of the work now to survey that. Jeanette and Tenery, which is another one we're working on now. And the big one is at the rodeo grounds out there. There's a big storm drain. It collects all the water north of town, and it's humongous. If I told you I had an answer today as to how we're going to address it, I'm not certain yet, but it's one of those that is an issue because when because so much water runs through it, it erodes very quickly. And then once it decides to give, it leaves a huge hole that those who maintain the rodeo grounds, sometimes we're out there pulling a tractor out of the hole left behind at that drainage, that storm drain. So those are three of them that we'll be working on. Those will be in-house work that we'll be doing partially in this budget cycle, partially in the next budget cycle, and with completion being in the 2018 budget cycle, 2018-19 budget cycle. Another candidate for either in-house or GwCtyCo financing, which would have some major implications, is the south of Sabine water loop. We put a very tentative $354,000 cost estimate on that. This is one of them that's on our CIP list. And what I want to bring up is that we're talking about connecting up a 6-inch line at the airport. All the lines that would be replaced, which are blue line and red line, we already service these areas with water. But what it is it's a terrible 2-inch line that has constant leaks. We're out there weekly, every single week. At some point in time, we are sitting somewhere in that area of town, fixing a leak or observing a leak and then not having enough time to fix it and seeing if is it worse than the leak that's on the other end of town. So looking at upgrading it from a 2-inch up to a 6-inch, which is what would be running on the blue. Reason why that would be strategic is if you see, we would be providing 6-inch service on. We already provide 6-inch service on the other side of 271, the airport side. We'd be providing 6-inch on the Liberty City side of 271, passing under 135. Since they're doing the expansion of the highway, we'll have an opportunity to go ahead and bore at that time. Put that 6-inch on both sides of 135 and then run it all the way and loop it in where our other 6-inch currently exists on the south end on McCormick. There's a red line there that's kind of a little U. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a U down there. We'd be replacing that 2-inch line with a 4-inch loop there. And one of the issues we're running into there is that most of the lines out here in that little U shape, the water lines run in people's yards. We're not even sure where the houses are connected in to the city system. So the idea is kill the city system and then rework those yard lines to those people's houses and reconnecting them on this new line where we know exactly where the lines are, how they're connected into the system, and provide better water at that point. Another one is what has been colloquially known as the over-the-river plan, one that I think has merit to it, especially as these expansions of 271 and 135 get closer and closer to actualization. What we found is that we take our sewer line, put a lift station across the river, and then extend the sewer line to 135. That would be approximately $700,000 for that endeavor, and it's not a ton of line. Really, a lot of the money would be in the lift station. A lot of these lift stations are $250,000 to make it TCEQ compliant, especially of the size it would have to be. But it would be an opportunity to tie in the airport at a future date because they're having problems with capital and growth because their septic system cannot hold any more capacity, and so they've been looking at upgrading their septic for years. So one of the things that could be an answer is that if we did eventually put sewer across the river, then they could tie into that, and that would give them the ability to expand their services, expand hangars and things of that nature. So not only would it have a commercial aspect, but it would also help one of our city services along the way. And this is one that probably is a little further out. I know we kind of tentatively put it at 2025. Could be sooner, could be later. Kind of depends on what the partnership aspect could be and kind of where we are financially in the coming years. One that may come into the future a lot sooner than later, and this is one that just really has cropped up recently, and that's and I actually didn't put over the river, but it's actually it's completing the loop around the sewer line. We have no sewer past the school there. Everything from the school to the everything from the school over to 271 has no water, no sewer, nothing. Now that's on our loop that we would like to develop one day and have industrial businesses, but we have nothing there. And now I know that there's properties that are up for sale along this loop, right around where I'm proposing water and sewer lines to be put in at some point. For sewer, we're looking at about 3,000 linear feet of line, maybe about 2,600 if we run it this way. There is a lift station on the other side that we could go under 271 and go across, but it wouldn't generate. We would have to still build the line as we'd be going down the loop. So there are two ways to crack it, but this would probably be cheaper because we wouldn't be boring under a highway, because the boring under highways is a pretty pricey endeavor. The other thing is that the water, to connect to water, we calculated at about 5,000 linear feet to get to the closest water connection that would be big enough to accommodate commercial, and that would be what is feeding the school. Now we may look in the other direction and maybe they'll save a few hundred linear feet somewhere else, but right now tentatively we're looking at about 5,000 feet, and that's why it's not on the slide yet, because I haven't fully fleshed out if there's another water source yet. One of our big problems is that with streets, we don't even have the equipment to build streets. We're currently working with partners to figure out what would be a good way for us to begin the process of fixing our streets at a low cost manner. So what I've tasked Public Works to do in the meantime is to begin the process of assessing our worst streets and working our way to okay streets, to good streets, to great streets. And then to begin the process of working with our partners, whether it's with the county, whether we have other opportunities. When I say the county, I'm talking about, obviously Greg or Upshur at this rate. I would also say, in talking with Gary Boyd with the county, we really can't get ahead on street issues at anything less than $125,000 per year and have a commitment to getting to that point. So part of the job will be is over the years figuring out, okay, what can we do on the cheap side, maybe using the RAP, but then, on our higher traffic streets, we're gonna have to start investing money in the future to get ahead on that. One of the things that has come to an end for us, at least for the short term, is that the group pavement project has kind of moved into laying asphalt rather than seal coating, and that's a little bit of a more expensive endeavor per foot that you lay down. So on the general fund side, currently working, and if you go into the council conference room, you'll see that we had a nice little get together with staff and wrote down our everything that we need for the foreseeable future over several budget cycles. And so what I'm hoping to do is to take some of the things that we've talked about previously, meld those together and have them ready for the June workshop, because we have a whole lot of stuff, such as getting back to full staffing, veteran benefits and retirement offered, beefing up our training. Obviously, streets are an issue, building and facility maintenance, and ballpark maintenance and operational costs, and making sure we build in for those things. So we have a lot of issues in this budget, and so one of the things we have to do is really put everything to the forefront and start whittling down what are the things that are going to be the highest priority, and go downward from there. And like I said, we will have a staff recommendation, but at the end of the day is that we'll be excited about getting input on that. In the general fund, we're looking at what is the future of a public works facility that would be partially subsidized on both sides of a general fund and enterprise fund, because you have street and you have water and sewer. City Hall roofing, I'm gonna be working on getting assessments done this year to see where we're at. We have some City Hall plumbing that we'd like to get worked on here, and obviously our parking lot, as everyone here can attest to, is not the prettiest one in Gladewater. So we're going to look at what are our options and seeing if there's anything in the general fund so we can get that done this year. Also look at what are the needs for a street department on the equipment side, and we've listed these in the past, but it was just as a reminder: motor grader, sweeper, pneumatic roller,
seal coat applicator or an asphalt paver, depending on which route you go, dump truck, those type of things for the future. I also recommend to the council at their convenience to come up with a set of town hall meetings so we can craft a strategic plan to go along, not budgets and all that stuff, but a strategic plan to get a vision of what the people want. I would suggest 3 town hall meetings and for us to get out of the city council hall chamber and go to other places, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce, the former Students Building, Garfield Hill. Go to the people and allow them the opportunity to give us input as to the direction of the city, and to have our staff members there to provide insight into what do we do, and maybe answer some questions as to why some things haven't gotten done, and have some really good suggestions as to how we can move forward. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Very good report.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, on the next item, consideration of GetCo board appointment. I'd like to call Robert Johnson to the front. I appreciate you coming, Robert. Appreciate all you do.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate everything you do.
Good evening, Robert Johnson, GwCtyCnclMay. Do I need to say the address?
We'd like for just the records.
213 North Main Street, Clearwater, Texas. I'm not aware of any nefarious plot to subvert the rules, but I do know that I hope I'm not betraying any confidence that Councilwoman Neiman turned in or told me of her intention to resign from the GwCtyCnclMay board. And that was a sad day. And also the chamber board, because I know that she has been an invaluable aid to me, to GwCtyCnclMay, and she's put in the hours and the blood and the sweat and the tears, and I know that because of her situation with her grandchild, she just couldn't do it anymore. And I also know that I don't think Todd Clifton or John Ushery or Charlotte or Robert Green would do anything that's against the rules. But I know that I appreciate the dedication, the service she's provided. Lana even has provided a set of skills that are needed for the GwCtyCnclMay board as far as real estate, and I've learned an unbelievable amount. So I thank you for your service. If it pleases you, Mayor and council members, I'd like to read the recommendation for the GwCtyCnclMay board. Esteemed Mayor and council members, it is a pleasure that the Gladewater Economic Development Corporation, GwCtyCnclay, unanimously recommends that Ms. Marsha Bird be appointed to the GwCtyCnclay Board of Directors. After a careful review of her application, the board is pleased to recommend Ms. Bird for the appointment of the Board of Directors. As a Senior Vice President and Branch Manager at Texas Bank and Trust in Gladewater, Marsha will bring multiple valuable skill sets, which will greatly benefit both GwCtyCnclay and the community as a whole. Marsha is a graduate of Gladewater High School and has a long history of serving our community through her participation in events and through her service on boards and committees. The GwCtyCnclay Board of Directors strongly affirms that Ms. Bird will bring both sagacity and experience, which will serve to further strengthen GwCtyCnclay. It is a sincere wish of the GwCtyCnclay Board of Directors that you will favorably consider Ms. Marsha Bird for appointment to the board. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Robert. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
I certainly don't have any problems with Mrs. Bird, but you know, I know the timing has been called into question, as has perhaps we're not following our own board appointment policy. Would you have any issue at all with us requesting that this be tabled to allow both the GwCty staff and city staff to review that policy and make sure that no steps were skipped, and then we revisit this next month?
I wouldn't have an issue with that, but I do know, JD, that this was the exact same way we did it previously with Robert Green and other members. An application was filled out. I talked to Melba about it. The application is a requirement from the city, was filled out. The meeting was posted. I mean, I couldn't break any open meetings rules 72 hours prior. And Lana came to the meeting basically so she could say goodbye and tell the board final. And that's when she said her thing was effective yesterday. But I mean, I already had it in my possession.
Okay.
So I mean, I can't tell you what to do as the council. I'm just saying that I don't, my knowledge of the process, both internally and certainly at the state level, it hasn't been broken. I'm kind of dumbfounded as to why that was said.
I can't recall off the top of my head either the board appointment policy at this time. I mean, I know we had an application process. I know that I know that we were to run ads. Is that right?
When our boards, all of our city boards are up for appointment in October.
Yeah.
And so we run ads prior to that, but this is a vacancy that's occurring in the middle of the season. It's not when we typically do all the board appointments. So this is sort of filling a vacancy.
Is there a specific rule that speaks to that?
No. But as Robert said, the 72-hour notice was posted both for GwCty and for council because he apparently knew of this long before their meeting and knew of it in sufficient time where application was received.
And I mean, both Melba and Theo were aware of that application.
So you feel that we have followed our own policy?
Yes, I mean, this is not the same as advertising for overall board appointments because this vacancy is occurring in the middle of the term.
Okay, thank you. What's the pleasure of the
Well,
council?
would it be detrimental to take this up next time
Well,
to your board?
Dr. Roberts, I know we're ready to move forward. I know that Lana hasn't been at a few meetings. She came to this one. This was the first one in a while. I tried to let there be maybe a reconsideration period, maybe reconsider. I know the problem is a family problem, and I hope I'm not divulging stuff you don't want with your grandson. We all know the situation with your grandson. And so the board has not really, in effect, not had a member for a while. And Todd told me, we need to move forward on this. He directly said that to me. And then he said we need to, it would be nice if Lana could come and we could honor her and say goodbye, et cetera. But all this was posted. And I just, it'd be a shame to draw the process out. And I told Marsha Bird the good news about being recommended last night. And she brings, as I've always said, she brings skills to the board that we need. And so, I mean, that's part of the effective. I mean, it's not like she's just some person walking down the street.
Well, no, I have no issue with Mrs. Bird at all. I just want to make sure we're following our own procedure. That was called into question, and so that's why I'm questioning it now. And I just want to make sure that are doing what we hear.
I can tell you emphatically, no state laws or thing contrary to the open meetings, that did not happen.
We're fine. We're fine.
Well, if we follow policy as stated, then I make the motion that we approve the GwCty board appointment of Marcia.
Thank you.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on this just among the council? All in favor?
Let me ask first, where did we post the notice?
It's always posted on the GwCty window, and for state law, you designate a place where you post it, and it's at the building where the meeting's held, and it's posted there.
Okay. Any more discussion among the council? All in favor of Marcia Burr? Aye. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I abstain.
you abstain, okay. Okay, thank you. And Lana, thank you for serving on that. And Robert, don't run off. I thank you. I thank you next.
I'm a glutton for punishment, obviously.
Yes, sir. The next item is consideration.
Mayor, if I may, thank you, council, for that.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it. The next item is consideration of Chapter 380 agreement with Pacific Creditors Involved. And I believe you want to speak on that also.
Yes, Theo and I jointly under the Chapter 380 policy. Could you pass these?
It is, okay.
Thanks. Under the Chapter 380 policy, Theo and I visited. This is with regards to the Pacific Crafters Mall off of memory of 355 Pacific Street, the project that Larry Series is engaging in. And last night, just to give you a summary of this, last night the GwCty board voted to allot $5,000 for the jobs created, and also because of for targeted infrastructure to address ADA issues. And so that part of this is accomplished, and I thought with Theo, and I thought that it went. Please jump in whenever you want here. Thought it was. Theo and I thought it was a good project. The project basically is a mini mall with different shop owners that will come and lease a place for a while and sell their wares. So it'd be a rotating amount of people, and there's also a place for a farmer's market. And this is right here by the Tyco. Next door to Tyco, between Tyco and Broadway School of Pacific. And what we came up with for the incentive was the GwCty portion that I mentioned, $5,000 for the ADA addressment and also for the jobs created. This would be a 3-year agreement. There's somewhat, I have to bring this to your attention, and I did speak to both Theo and JD, and I've spoken to others, I believe, in the past about this. There is, when we came up with the 380 program, it was good, but it was suggested that the Chapter 380 incentive agreement, if somebody started building, they needed to get, before they received any permits or a certificate of occupancy, they needed to go to the council with their plan. And it's my view, and I think Theo's, that this is a little short-sighted. I think a better way to modify this plan that we currently have, and this is just my opinion, I'm just addressing the issue, is because, for instance, Larry got started with his work and then wanted the incentive, but if we have a strict reading of the 380 policy that we currently have in place, you can't even get a certificate of occupancy. If you've got a certificate of occupancy, you can't get a tax abatement. And with meetings and scheduled meetings, as my old boss at the Capitol used to say, the wheels of the government don't always turn in the same manner as the wheels of business. So, or as quickly as the wheels of business. So with that, I think one way around that would be that if we said within 6 months of receiving your certificate of occupancy and your permits, you have to apply for, or even 3 months, I mean, whatever your pleasure would be. I'm just bringing the matter before the council. I think would, because right now what you'll have to do in order to allow this tax abatement that we've gotten, and I haven't said what tax abatement is, but in order to allow that to proceed, you'd have to make an exception of your own policy, which you have the authority to do.
Well, the one thing though, in this situation with Mr. Siri is that, this is, a final build out hasn't occurred.
Right.
I mean, there are still more buildings to come, which will require more building permits.
Right.
And each little building is a little business in and of itself, which will require certificates of occupancy. So, given that is the case, and that's not always the case.
No.
I mean, this is a unique facility going up that I think it can apply, but that definitely the verbiage needs to be reworked to allow a window of opportunity.
And JD just said what I would try to say better than I did. I mean, that is exactly true. Mr. Siri does have some additional, some intent to build additional facilities. But this, at some point, needs to be addressed because we may get a really good business in here that we're trying to do a 380 agreement with, and they're excited, and then we get to it and say, oh, gee whiz, we can't because we, I just recommend looking at it.
Well, his history, the RV park was very successful. He did his research and invested, and was successful, and now he's chosen this endeavor. And I know he's done his research. I know he's going to be successful. He's going to push. And it's going to be a great addition to the downtown area.
Right. Let me, if I may, just describe just get to the rest of the letter, the certificate of occupancy that we'd be proving tonight if the council sees fit, would be under our Chapter 380 agreement. The first year would be 100% abatement on city taxes. Second year would be an 80% abatement on city taxes. Third year would be 60% abatement of city taxes. Fourth year would be 40% abatement, and fifth year would be a 20% abatement on city taxes. Now, keep in mind, this would not include school taxes, nor would it include the county. And I do, Theo and I did agree with Larry. I'll be frank, I don't know how much of a chance there is to get any action from the county or the county, any movement, I guess I should say, from the county. But we will approach the county in good faith and ask them. But that would be under Chapter 381, where you waive the county taxes in much of the same manner. But what we're looking at here tonight is the abatement of purely city taxes. And currently, I did the research. It's kind of a guess of how much this will be valued at. Currently, just the property alone, I believe it says here somewhere, was $138. Thank you, dollars for what they collected last year. Now that's going to go up exponentially because there's buildings on the property and there's value added to the property. So again, the first year would be just total 100% waived taxes. Second year, 80% of the taxes would be waived. Third year, 60, and on to 5 years. And that's our proposal.
And just to add on is to say is that one of the reasons why I'm very, very pleased with the structure of the agreement is that for a 5-year abatement, that is right within the best practices of TEDC. They do frown on anything beyond that. I know that historically the city has in the past given out longer ones, but really tax abatements beyond 5 years is really frowned upon as a non-best practice. Everything in here is basically best practice for the Texas Economic Development Council.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Rob.
Is there anything else you need from me?
Matt. Don't run off.
Okay.
What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the Chapter 380 agreement with Pacific Crafters Mall with a 5-year tax abatement, 1 year being 100%. second year 80%, third year 60%, fourth year 40%, and fifth year a 20% abatement on city taxes. And again, as it's not a final build out as of yet, an additional building permits, certificates obviously will be required. I think it does fit. However, I would like to include in the motion that we would have the GetCo director, the city manager work together on the verbiage of the last line of item 2 to allow a window of opportunity for businesses.
Okay,
Second.
second by Dennis. Any more discussion among the council? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have to go to church.
You gotta go to church.
Okay, we're done.
Right, Robert. How about praying? Robert Hayward, when we had the storm, Robert emailed me that he was praying for all of the
Different Robert.
water. The other Robert. But I told Robert, I said, appreciate that, because that looked like it was going to just wipe out Blackwater, Texas. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. You're always here. I appreciate you.
Next, I have 2 item 9s. So,
9 and 9. This next item is update and a consideration regarding ballpark, progressive and completion of facilities, leaf blade, and comments heard about facilities, and field naming. I believe Code Evans is going to come and speak on this.
Thank you for the opportunity to come tonight. I think most of us are aware this process started out pretty frustrating. But now with the facilities complete and league play going, we definitely have something that Bladewater has to be proud of. We have something that a lot of cities wish they had. I remember the fields that I played on as a child that were the same chain link fences that were torn down just a couple of years ago. What we have today is, in my personal opinion, a million times better than what was out on the loop. And I know that people that I've had good relationships with have been very impressed with the facilities. So first I would like to thank y'all for making that a possibility. Forward thinking. Selfishly, I'm excited. My son will be able to start playing on these fields in the next couple of years. So again, I'm excited about that. We had a little weather issue with the first opening ceremony that we had planned, so it was delayed a week. But we were able to move it to the next week, and the weather couldn't have been any better. Cool breeze, sun was out. We had a lot of faces there. Very good turnout for that. We had good support from city staff, our ballpark board, the associations. During that opening day ceremony, we did a dedication for Wade Gettsville. We were not able to dedicate Carter Abernathy Field because part of the Abernathy family was unable to be there that day. We were able to dedicate that field within recent weeks, and everything that I've heard from the families has just been utmost gratitude. Very touched by the willingness of the city, of the board, of the associations to want to carry those names from the old complex to the new complex. Part of that is we've asked the associations, part of what we have drafted, y'all have copies of this, is some naming rules, and we've asked the associations to kind of spread the word on, if someone is deserving, who would they consider, and then basically apply to the ballpark board, in which we would make consideration of those names. I took it upon myself a couple months ago, and I wrote a letter to Theo, and I recommended that we name a baseball field after Mike Timmons, and that we name a softball field after John Mackey. The reasoning behind those namings, you'll see the letters that I wrote to Theo. They are basically they're the same letter with just the names changed. What you will find is that there are 2 gentlemen that were invested in this process long before, most of this was known to the public. There were two men that spent, I can't tell you how many hours on the fields with project managers, with construction companies, with ballpark associations, just a number of hours that were spent after their own busy lives out there. I know I felt like I was busy during this process, but I know that I always saw those two guys doing 10 times what I ever thought that I was supposed to be doing. So just for their overall commitment, both of them served the associations for 9 or 10 years as the president of baseball and softball. So they have invested a lot of time in this city, in the city's youth, in making this complex successful. Specifically, John was out there almost every other day talking about, when erosion was happening and dirt was being moved and where water lines were supposed to be placed and electricity and all sorts of things. It was like he was a second contractor out there. And part of that's because of his general knowledge in that area. But he was more than willing to be out there. No one asked him to go to the field every other day. Mike Timmons was in the same boat, and had it not been for Mike, we would have had a complex completed where the bases were the wrong length on every field. And so, and I know that seems kind of small, but when you take into account the infield has to be a certain size for grass and the cost that it would have taken to go back and fix a semi-small mistake would have been something significant to a budget that was already really tight. So I made the recommendation that we name those fields. Our board did vote to name a field after Mike and after John, and Mike did abstain from that vote. Tonight I'm just asking for just confirmation that y'all believe those are two deserving individuals. So with that, I would ask for any questions y'all have specific to that.
You mentioned a softball for John and a baseball for Mike.
Correct.
But the reason I asked is because it says softball for Mike.
Okay, and that was a
But it is baseball.
correct. Yeah.
I don't have issue with it at all. I think what the board was tasked with was quite difficult and unknown. And the caliber of guys these are, because I know there was some frustration, but I think even if they had known, they still would have volunteered.
I would agree.
And that's why I'm for that, because I think they're that type of individual.
I can second that. Their character, at the end of the day, was always focused on the kids. No matter what obstacle it was how to make it possible for the kids to be able to play on the field.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to do that. For this update consideration, I'd like to do it consideration on item C, field naming. I'd like to do it one at a time. What's the pleasure on this item with Mike Timmons?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve naming one of the baseball fields after Mike Timmons.
Is there a certain one?
There's field 1 and field 4 currently have names in there, so it's either 2 or 3. It doesn't matter.
Did you say just for the motion, we'll say field 2?
Field 2, okay.
Yes.
Do I hear a second on that motion? Second by Sonny. Any more discussion on this one? Field number 2 with Mike Timmons. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And then the next one is what's in consideration of John Mackey.
What fields are open for that, for those? Which numbers are those?
All of them. No softball field has been named today.
What number of baseball?
We have one baseball field remaining.
What number would you think on that one?
I would just, is it 6 is the first one you walk in?
The one you would see walking in would be 6.
Okay,
6.
6.
Okay, John Mackey, number 6. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we allow the naming of Field 6 after John Mackey.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, Phil.
And the last, real quick before I jump off, I just want to highlight that the Baseball Association, specifically Micah Brown, Tony Voss, Jeremy Gothard, Jake Carter, Ashley Spurlock, and Alvin Gordon, all have been very helpful in navigating this process. Without them working with us, it would have been a whole lot more difficult. So again, just thank y'all, and thank you to those gentlemen for working with us.
Thank you, Coach. Okay, the next item is consideration of municipal advisory agreement with Hilltop Securities.
City has been working with Southwest Securities, which is now Hilltop Securities, for many years now. I don't know how many years at this point, but a lot of years. And they've been good financial advisors to the city. Their contract is running out, I believe, at the end of June or at some point in July. And the Texas Water Development Board basically said, hey, you know, your contract with Hilltop is coming to an end, and you are about to take out we're about to approve your loan that you've requested from the state of Texas, but we noticed that this contract is coming to an end. It's time for y'all to re-up it with this financial advisor. That's who you're going to go with. Hilltop Securities brought in their advisory agreement. Really, the city, I don't believe there's ever been a real issue, negative, toward the financial advisor. And so basically, to continue on with our Texas Water Development Board process and to smooth and streamline it, we brought it to Council Melvin and I, the municipal advisory agreement, if the council so chose to continue working with Hilltop Securities.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the municipal advisory agreement with Hilltop Securities.
Okay. Second, Ms. Sunny. Any discussion?
Just one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anything drastically changed as far as their fees or anything like that from before till now?
No, I mean, I haven't seen anything that would have been alarming. They're pretty boilerplate because it's pretty intensely, there's an intense competition between the different financial advisors, so they're pretty standard across board, and so they haven't really gone up.
Okay. Any more questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay. The next item is how I think it's going to be on. This is an update and consideration of issuing following orders for structures located at lot 14, block 8, Shepherd Hills, 4 common zones, 901 Melvin. B, lot 3, block 4, K acres, 225, A8, Hampton House, 4 common zone is 1005 K Drive. C is AB 95 HR, pocket survey, draft 13, 4 common zone, 700 Gulf Springs Road. Okay, yeah.
Okay. When I originally brought the demolition package in front of y'all several months ago, 2 of the houses requested extended time on the demolition orders. Now, since that period, y'all told me to bring an update on those 2 houses back to you in 3 months. And since that time period, ownership of 1100 Phillips Springs came to me, and someone knew was going to buy it, so I gave them an extension on the standing demolition order. But now this sale of that property has fallen through, so I was just letting you know that 1100 Phillips Springs is still in sad shape and still needs to be demolished. So that will go back on, automatically go back on the demolition list, and it should be scheduled to go down within the next 2 weeks. Okay, one of the ones that y'all gave an extension to was the owners of 901 Nelson. It was owned by Jacqueline Nelson. And her daughter and son-in-law came and approached y'all and asked y'all for more time to do something with this house. In this time period, the daughter and son-in-law has just recently, within the last week, finalized the purchase of the house from the mother. And this past week, they have also obtained a permit to begin, electricians obtained a permit to begin the electrical work within the next week to 2 weeks to begin starting the upgrades of this house. I mean, the house has been, the only thing they've done is increase the security of the house, and they've gone inside and torn out the inner walls, making it easier for the electrician to work. So they're asking for some more time to let their electrician begin and let them rehab the house. In the hopes that either they will move into it or they will begin renting it.
What's your feelings now on this?
This is a house I've been dealing with really a long time with several issues. And they've always done enough to keep it going. And they're real passionate about this house. I believe they're going to rehab it. They've actually gotten a loan to buy the house and extra money to rehab it. The daughter has cashed in part of her 401k to finish this project, to do it. So I believe they're serious about doing it.
Did they indicate how much time?
They mentioned the idea, they brought to y'all the idea that the house would be done within a year. And that they were still trying to stick to that plan, that within the year, 3 months ago, that they would have this rehabbed and finished. Like I said, I've dealt with it for a long time. I really kind of would like to have it over with, but then I would like to give them one more chance. Another 30 days or something. And if they do start working, let them proceed.
I know when you drive by there and look at it, it don't look as bad as some of the rest of them.
No, it doesn't look as bad as it used to. They've done a good job of keeping it up, keeping it clean.
So they're asking for 9 more months, you said?
Well, I mean, they expect to be finished in another 9 months and have the house ready to live in. Now, 1005K. Y'all remember this is the house that's been burnt down to a point. This house has been purchased by another individual, and he has put numerous hours of time and money into this house. You drive by it now, you'd never tell it's been burned. You see the front of it's been all cleaned up, painted. It's got a new roof on it. The inside's been gutted, reframed. Everything that was burned is gone, taken out. Everything, the whole house has been killed over. The aroma of the fire is now gone. All the wiring has been done by a registered licensed electrician. The plumbing has been done by a licensed plumber. Licensed air conditioning man has come in and done all the duct work, all new air conditioning system. As you see, and then they've actually papered up, even getting ready to insulate the house at this time. My recommendation on this house is that we take it off the demolition list at this time and seriously let him finish the house for sale.
And that will prove another house to be tore down.
Another house.
The same one on that one.
The same thing on that one. That'll still leave enough money to tear up enough to tear down another house.
Okay, let's do them one item at a time, okay? On A, lot 14, block 8, Shepherd Hills, more commonly known as 901 Nelson. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Tear it down.
You weren't there at
Now, you said that they, on knowing that they have gotten permits already for
They
it?
have got an electrician has full permit to get one.
I mean, I think our whole goal is either for properties to be rehabbed or to be gone, one or the other, and I don't think it's, I know we had some questions about the affordability of being able to do the rehab. and they answered our questions. And they did say that it would take about a year to get it done, so it's 9 months left of that year that they're talking about. If they're improving the house and the electrical is getting done, you know, I don't want to tear something down that will be rehabbed.
They have made some improvements. They've taken out a loan to make additional improvements.
Yeah, I mean,
It
it's,
seems like they are
they just didn't get into 401k without being
moving in
serious
the right
about it.
direction.
Think about that, Phillips Springs, that's the one. Yeah, give them a little more time.
What's the pleasure of council with that? I mean, we'll do one at a time.
Mayor, I move that, we give the owners more time on the house. Lot 14, Block 8, Shepherd Hills, more commonly known as 901 Elwyn.
You gonna put in there how much time? How much time are you?
How much?
That's the year to start with.
Right, they asked for a year to rehab the house.
Okay, so it's already been 3 months, so they're looking at 9 more months.
Okay, 9 months.
And could we just add to the motion, Councilmember Watson, that maybe we could get another update in 3 months to see where things are, so that it doesn't just stand still for 9 months, so we can just see where we're at.
Wait till the last minute.
And then wait till the last minute to do something.
Well, that was kind of my concern is were the permits pulled because that just happened to be the timing of the work to be done, or is it because it was gonna be on this month's agenda?
The impression I was given is that the permit was now pulled because the house is now in there now. It is now their property. Because the sale has gone through and it is now theirs.
I would like to see status updates where you have the ability to, if there's no progress, because there should be, obviously, with the information you've given us or that they've given you and you've shared with us, is that there is going to be movement. And so, you know, we may, we're looking at it in 3 months to see where it's at.
Your motion?
Yes.
No, Dana.
No, as I said, I didn't do a motion, I'm just saying I would like to. Leon made a motion.
I made a motion.
We're just tacking that on the end.
It has been seconded yet, so.
We're taking a lot on there.
Let's start the motion over.
Here's the motion I have from Leon,
Okay.
that we give them additional 9 months' time to rehabilitate or repair the house and get another update from Al in 3 months.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, that's his motion, and Dennis second. Any more
Now we can
discussion?
discuss it.
Does that cover us for, what if nothing's happened in 3 months? But we've given them 9 months to do it, does that cover us for if there is no movement? Like, in 3 months, there hasn't even been an electrician allowed to come permit the schools, or? We would still have to wait for 9 months, because our motion says we're giving them 9 months with updates.
But within 3 months, if there haven't been any improvement, then we make a decision. That should be.
We can revisit.
Maybe the motion, or if you've got it all covered, if it was 3 months where it was reviewed at that point, don't worry about 9 months or anything else, just, if we made it where there was a motion on the floor in 3 months, we would review this again to see their progress and the status.
Yeah, but we've already granted them the 9 months, have we not?
No,
What was the agreement we made with them?
that's what they wanted, was us to give them.
The agreement you made with them is that they had up until this council meeting when I brought you back the update, that y'all would make your determination whether you'd give them more time or that you would do it on the demolition.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
I think we're amending the motion.
That's already been seconded. We need to let it die if it's.
All right, let's let this be done.
Before it pass or down.
Good daddy.
You gotta ask first. You gotta ask first. Okay.
All right, let's try again.
All those in favor?
All those in favor? You stick on that. I guess.
Okay, fail.
No motion. Okay. Now we're looking for a different motion. What's the pleasure, council, listen? For different wording.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we allow a 3-month extension for the demolition to give Al an opportunity to bring it back in 3 months to the council to show that there is progress being made on the property or not. And then we can determine at that time if it needs to go forward with demolition or forward with the progress that they're making.
Okay.
Second.
Second, Ms. Hunt. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay.
Did you vote?
Yeah, that's my vote yet. I didn't vote for it.
Okay, I just didn't see your hand, so you're
I voted
opposed?
against it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is going to be Lot 3, Block 4, K acres, 225, A8, M House, more commonly known as 1005 K Drive. What's the pleasure of the council on that item?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we remove 1005 K Drive from the demo list.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. The last one is AB 95 HR Packet Survey, Track 13, more commonly known as 1100 Phillips Springs. What's the pleasure of the council on that item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with our demolition on AB 95 HR Hopitt Survey, Track 13, more commonly known as 1100 Phillips Springs.
Okay. Second. Any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Al.
I'm next again.
Parks and Recreation. Consideration of ordinance to amend chapter 93, Parks and Recreation of the Code of Ordinances. Okay, Al.
All right, if y'all remember, the lake board brought to y'all the idea of extending, the length of boat piers, boathouses, docks, and their recommendation, which we all agreed on, was 65 feet, according to the draft, whether it was 4 feet deep or not, and then whether it extending into coves. And then we also, with the lake board recommendation of fencing, that the last 50 feet be see-through. Okay, so as not to block anyone's view of the lake. The problem with that was that boathouses, piers, and lake property was all under chapter 93 of our code dealing with parks and recreation. Now, the idea you see is the way our code is currently written. In chapter 93, 93.24 deals with housing and sanitation requirements around the lake. Boathouses and piers is item number B. Now, there was no room under chapter 93 to extend the new request from the lake board as to fit in the lengths of the boathouses, the lengths of the docks, or the depth, or anywhere to put the fencing. So I had to be creative, and actually what I did is I took all the parts dealing with the lake properties, houses and properties on the lake, and removed them from Parks and Recreation and created chapter 156 of our ordinances. And if we move lake property items to chapter 156, that gives us the room not only to input what lake board has brought forward to us, but also any further items that we may want to add to lake properties.
And I'd say is, Mayor, this would be all up to you at this point, but before we would, we should probably do items 12 and 13 together, because if y'all choose not to adopt chapter 156, then there's no point in removing the language out of 93. So we may,
Actually, it won't get the new language into 93.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You won't take the Lake Board recommendation. So would you kind of, Mayor, if it would be okay if we move to 156, the next item, and kind of talk about that, sir?
I'd love to.
Okay. Could you tell us about, in depth, what the Lake Board is asking for, and if you want to walk us through that, I'll have them go through it.
Actually, originally I brought the idea to the Lake Board that on building docks, piers, boathouses out on Lake Gladewater, that we have nowhere mentioned, and I have no true leg to stand on, in setting a length limit or recommendation on how far out a dock can extend into the lake. Not that, it's something that has happened yet, but I was looking in the future that if someone wants to build an enormous dock, I've got no true leg to stand on, except I am the authority having jurisdiction as the building official to limit that. So they actually did the research and spoke with Lake Cherokee and various other lake boards around the state and found a common length that would work. And their recommendation was that it would be 65 feet unless the draft was at 4 foot or below. Then it could possibly be extended with my permission as the building official to go out a little further, that it would be deep enough to launch a boat from that pier. Unless the pier was inside, say, a cove or a slough where we could not even extend the 65 feet because it would block the cove. Okay, then we also included things of how wide that it wouldn't take up the whole extent of your property. And then we also added that all boat piers should be maintained. There's something, I forget exactly how it was worded, that there should be no piers or docks.
Guys, on D, if you look at most of the item that he's talking about right now is on page 38, items 1, 2, and going down to 156.07, which is fencing, which would be the other portion. So it's kind of all on page 38.
That's the other thing that came up.
And if you look at D, it says no person shall own or control an abandoned dock or dilapidated dock. A dilapidated dock is defined as a dock that, and there are 6 items such as having structural problems, roofing, decking, if it's submerged, not floating upright, has decks or floors below the water line, is in disrepair or otherwise not in compliance with these standards. So that's where he wants to add the conditions.
Our lake brings lots of travelers to our town just to boat and, fish and boat and ski in our lake. I would love it to be a beautiful sight all the way around and not have a bunch of dilapidated docks sitting out there that would really create more of a hazard, as well as a site nuisance to visitors to our town.
And a lot of this was, now all this language out, this was all pretty much vetted through Lake Board to pretty much make sure that they were good with.
All this was brought in front of the Lake Board and they approved and brought it to y'all. If you remember last month, we actually brought it, we had the one last question about the fencing. And so went back to Lake Board and their recommendation of the 50 feet of see-through is what y'all requested from them. That is what it's come back to y'all.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do, I guess if we want to do 13.
What's the penalty for a dilapidated dock or a boathouse that's in disrepair? What happens?
I believe the penalty is listed as $10.99, which they could be fined if they do not, say remove the dock or repair the dock. Our standard $10.99 penalty, which is $500 or the $2,000.
It's set by the judge.
Yeah, that's go before the judge. Anything that's a non-demolition of a property goes before the judge.
Okay, we're gonna do this one first. Consideration of ordinance to add chapter 156, lake water, housing and property to the code of ordinances. What's the pleasure of the council on that item?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the ordinance to add chapter 156, lake water, housing and property to the code of ordinances.
Second.
Second by Lane. Now discussion. Any discussion on that?
No, sir. I was having a moment. Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Now we move back up to consideration of ordinance to amend chapter 93, parks and recreation of the code of ordinances. What's the pleasure of the council on that item?
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that we amend chapter 93, parks and recreation of the code of ordinances as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. The next item is consideration of bids for the library roof.
Yes, sir, I'll be taking that. Thankfully, this item was brought up to GwCtyCnclMay last night as item 4 of their agenda last night. And I have an older version of this bid. GwCtyCnclay has a newer version of the bid. And so I'll explain what's the one thing we're missing in this older bid. I was sent 2 versions of it, and I wasn't sure which one to print off, so I ended up, of course, when you're 50-50, you end up printing the wrong one. So, what this bid that was approved by GwCtyCnclay last night to fund, but at the end of the day, it's up to the council to make a decision on whether or not the repairs will be done on the property at all, because it is city property, is at the library roof, East Texas Roof Works. We've been working, and Al can attest to it, our Public Works Director can attest to it, Randy Calloway with Public Works can attest to it, Kathy Cannon can attest to it. We've been working on this roof project for quite a bit, mainly because we wanted to get it right. And we ended up, we found that this bid was the best bid. East Texas Roof Works is offering to do a full rehabilitation of the roof, redoing and resealing the top of the roof, basically laying an insulation over the current roof and then sealing it. One of the main things that I wanted to point out in this is that it comes with the inclusion of adding a walk pad area so that you can get to all the AC units, which was not on the roof ever before. So anytime someone dropped a tool or anything of that nature, it would hit the roof, causing an area for weakness and a future leak, where this has a walk path that will be padded. Last thing, and the one thing that is different is if you look at item 9, it says a 10-year workmanship warranty. It's actually a 10-year workmanship warranty that includes both parts and labor. So the more updated bid just specifies the warranty a little bit better. That bid came in at $30,000 to do all of that, which was much lower than anything else that was coming in at that time. The others were definitely in the 50s and 60s to get a 10-year warranty for the roof. So we'll turn it over to the council. As I said, GwCtyCnclay has agreed that they felt that this bid was a good bid to go ahead, and that they'd be willing to pay for that so that we can begin the process of creating the career center area in the library.
You know how long that company's been in business?
Well, they've been around a really long time. They're the ones that do pretty much every flat roof at Kilgore College.
Okay, great. Okay. What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the bid for the library roof of $30,000, and that in partnership with GwCtyCnclay, that they will be paying for that $30,000 bid.
Second, Leon. Okay. Any discussion now?
Just want to say thank you to GwCtyCnclay for helping out with this much needed repair that's been needed for quite some time.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. The next item is update regarding ADA report and election polling places.
Okay, Mayor, Council, here's the deal. Gregg County is applying for a countywide polling place system, so that if you live in Longview but work in Gladewater on election day, you could vote in Gladewater or vice versa. Part of their application process involved having every polling place inspected for ADA compliance. And our voting room that we use back here is not in compliance. There's a few issues that are easy fixes in the parking lot, such as the pipe barrier before the building. There has to be an access for wheelchairs. However, none of these parking lot fixes can overcome this ramp. As it comes in the door, the ramp is too steep. And there's no inexpensive, easy fix for that. The maximum slope for the ramp is supposed to be 8.33%, and ours ranges all the way up to 14.5%. So, as a result, Gregg County will no longer use our city hall for a polling place. And they use that in even number years in March and November. So what they are going to do is they're going to use our library for early voting in those even number years with your approval. Use the library for early voting in the even number years in the meeting room of the library. On election day, they are looking at using Jeter Hall at the First United Methodist Church. Okay, for our city elections, early voting is always done in my office, so that's not a problem. But on election day, we're going to move the voting on election day to the city hall lobby. That's going to change your 100-foot distance. You have a 100-foot electioneering boundary. It's going to have to be measured from the front door now instead of the back door. The school also uses City Hall for voting, and their early voting is done in the lobby anyway with Teresa, but on election day, their voting is going to be done at their administrative building. So we're having to change all these polling places because we're not in compliance with ADA, and it's just going to cost too much to fix it. So we're just going to improvise and use our lobby for our city elections, and then everybody else has to move around. There's no real action for you to take on this. It's just an update to let you know what the changes are.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. The last item here is consideration of schedule for budget workshops. And I believe we had decided on June the 13th, which was Tuesday. What was the time on that? We finally agreed on 6 p.m. at the Chamber of Commerce. We need to vote.
Well, you can. I would also pitch that we probably would want to have a second budget workshop maybe 2 weeks later, if possible, maybe at near the end of the month, you know, like June 27th, if that would be available. But we can always come back at the June 13th meeting and make that an action item. But, you know, just kind of think on your calendars, a second meeting about 2 weeks later. That's all I have to say.
Mayor, I'd like to just add that the reason why we're not having it here is this is a Tuesday, and we have court here on Tuesday night. So that's why it will be at the chamber.
Okay, let's vote. What's the pleasure of council on this item? You know, we'd all been kind of told back and forth.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a budget workshop for June 13th at 6 p.m. at the Chamber of Commerce building.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. And the last item is I hear a motion, we adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? All right. Thank all y'all for coming. Appreciate it.